And she wrote this song and she sung this song, What's Love Got to Do With It? Many believe that it was really written out of her hardship, pain, and suffering, and sadly to say, her abuse by the hands of her husband. Many believe that. And so she said this statement that really got the attention of the American public when that song came out. What love got to do with it? You know, and for people who had been through some hard times and some difficulties in relationship, many of those people could relate to that. So she said that statement, and it's another thing she said out of that. She said, love is just a secondhand emotion. Hey, anybody remember that? So there are two things. And where I certainly understand, and I'm not hating on Tina Turner, I certainly understand her premise, I certainly understand her perspective on that. It's a worldview. Her perspective was, I've been hurt, and so what love got to do with this thing? I'm just going to have a relationship, and you know, what's love got to do with it? No matter. You know, emotions, you know, it just don't matter. Love is just a secondhand emotion. What love's got to do with it? You know, and so I understand because she's speaking out of a broken heart. She's speaking out of somebody who's been hurt. You know, sometimes, can I just take a side note? Sometimes, you know, we say things and it may not necessarily be totally true, but it's spoken out of our brokenness. It's spoken out of experiences that we've been through. You know, true or not true, but the truth is we say certain things because of where we come from. And so I believe she's really saying this because of what she comes out of. But the thing I wanted to bring out here is that as a believer, we can't embrace that worldview because that's a world kind of view. It's a world love. We can't embrace that as believers. And the reason why is because we understand this. For the believer, love has everything to do with our Christianity. Come on, somebody. Because without love, there would be no Christianity. So we got to say, excuse me, Miss Tina Turner, but love has everything to do with it for us. Somebody say, I know that's right. Because our foundation, Christianity foundation, is built on love. The Bible said that God is what? God is love. The Bible said God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Without love, there would be no Christianity. And without Christianity, there would be no salvation. And without salvation, we would still be in our sins. So love has everything to do with it for the believer. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And another thing that struck me, she said, and I mentioned that, she said, love is just a secondhand emotion. I understand her plight there too. But we have to say to that, excuse me again. Because for the believer, love is not an emotion. And let me tell you why. Because if love is an emotion for the believer, that means love will change because emotion changes. Oh, can I go somewhere with this? You know, sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't. Oh, come on, somebody. Some days you're feeling good and some days you're feeling blue. I know you're saved, but the truth be told, you ain't always on the mountain every day. Sometimes, I mean, your emotions are going everywhere. You know, sometimes we look at you and say, you look like you schizophrenic today. You know, what's wrong with you? Get yourself together because your emotions are going everywhere. So if love is built on emotion, solely on emotion, that means love would fluctuate and change. But love, God's kind of love, is not built solely on emotion. Will we feel emotion at times? Yes, we will. But here's the thing. God never told us that our love would be built on emotion. God says love is a commandment. Yes. Somebody walk with me there. Yes. And that's the reason why it's to never change. Look at God. God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And his love never changes. His love is not built on his emotion towards us. Because if it was, God would have every right to cut us off and stop loving us. How many of you can lift your hand and say, 365 days in a year, I do everything right? How many are honest enough to say, and the truth be told, there are some of those days where I have sinned. Come on, everybody's hand better go up. Because you know there are some days where, let me tell you something, I ain't just talking about, I went out there and slept with somebody. No, no, no. What about when you open your mouth and you said the wrong thing? That's a sin. Or you knew to do right and you did not do it. That's sin. Come on, church sanctified folk. Don't get brand new with me. So sometimes we do. But God did not cut us off. We still feel the love of God. In fact, sometimes it's his love that draws us back in place, that really convicts us and say, Lord, I got to get myself together, because God is not pleased with that. So his love never changes. Same with us. God says now, love is not based on an emotion. Love is a commandment. And because it's based on a commandment, it should never change.